All right, Shalom. Let's start off by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Racha Kudash. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone who teach well and rule well, and Shalom to the elect. This is the Brother Zakar from the Great Millstone Montreal branch. And what I want to touch on is these few verses here in the book of Isaiah, the 14th chapter, which touch on America. Okay, America in the Bible is known as Babylon, is among other names such as Egypt, Assyria. Okay, um, so let's start off in the 16th verse. Okay, it says here, "They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, Is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms?" Now, who did this? It's really the Edomites that are ruling in America. Okay, because she is, um, the empire that really rules the earth. Okay, via her military. Okay, this is the book of Revelation, chapter 17 and verse 18. It says, "And the woman which thou sawest is that great city." Okay, and that great city is referring to Babylon, America. Okay, and that woman is once again America. Okay, the whore that rideth upon the beast. Okay, it says here, verse 5, "And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abomination of the earth." Right, so that's America. Verse 18, "And the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth." Okay, right, so she rules over the kings of the earth. Once again, America is the country that, plays the police around the world, and she has dominion. Okay, and other countries truly fear her. Okay, she's also the first country that has dropped an atomic an atomic bomb on another country. Okay, namely Japan. Okay, she actually dropped two atomic bombs, Little Boy and Fat Man. All right, so back to Isaiah 14. But Yahweh Shemashah is going to abase her. Okay, Yahweh Shemashah is the power that's going to abase America, and that's why the nations are gonna say, "Is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms?" Okay, verse 17. And they're going to be amazed at her downfall. Okay, they're going to be amazed and astonished at the downfall of America. Okay, verse 17, "That made the world as a wilderness and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the house of his prisoners." All right, and that's really what I want to focus on in this lesson. Okay, all right, how America has a high incarceration rate. Okay, compared to the world. Okay, so I wanted to deep seek, ask the AI a few questions. And it says, yes, exactly. The United States make up 4.2% of the world's population. Okay, but holds roughly 17 to 20% of the world's prisoners. All right, so 17 to 20% of the world's prisoners are in America. Okay, the highest incarceration rate on earth. This means the U.S. prisons imprisons more people than authoritarian regimes like China, which officially 1.7 million prisoners, right? And what's the population of China? China population is about, in 2022 it says 1.411 billion. India has even more, an even higher population of This is 2025. Okay, interesting. Okay. Top 10 most populous countries, July 2025. So India, okay, that's 1,419,316,933. Okay, people. Okay, while China is 1,407,000,000. Okay, which is less than 2023. Okay, but even in these countries, America has a higher incarceration rate. All right, so it says prisons the U.S. imprisons more people than authoritarian regimes like China and Russia, which Russia has 400,000 prisoners, despite having a smaller population than both. You see, if the U.S. were a country of 100 people, about 0.62 would be in prison compared to 0.15 globally. No other developed democracy comes close. European nations incarcerate at 5 to 10 times lower rates. It says, why is the U.S. such an outlier? Extreme sentencing policies, life without parole. Okay, over 55,000 U.S. prisoners are serving life without parole, a sentence rare in most countries. Okay, the three strikes laws, people will get 25 plus years for minor offenses. Okay, mandatory minimums, judges must impose long sentences even for non-violent crimes. Criminalization of poverty and race. Cash bail system keeps 400,000 times. Keeps 400,000 plus people in jail daily. Unconvicted, just too poor to pay. It says black Americans are incarcerated at 5 times the rate of whites. Okay, despite similar crime rates. All right, and we're gonna touch on that. You know how when it says black Americans is referring to the so-called Negroes, or which are Israelites, which is referring to the tribe of Judah. Okay, now it could be also Israelites of the kingdom of Judah, which consists of the tribe of Judah, the tribe of Levi, and the tribe of Benjamin. All right, the tribe of Levi would be the so-called Haitians, and the tribe of Benjamin are the so-called West Indians. All right, so it says black Americans are incarcerated at 5 times the rate of whites, despite similar crime rates. All right, so we're going to touch on that. Just read more on this. It says prison industrial complex, private prisons, profit from keeping cells full. Okay, Core Civic Geo Group. Okay, it says prison labor is 100. Prison labor is $11 billion year per year industry. Inmates paid pennies per hour. Okay. War on drugs, 1980s to present. Despite similar drug use rates across races, so-called black people are 3.6 times more likely to be arrested for marijuana. So here you see a pattern. Okay. All right. There's an incomplete injustice towards the Israelites, and that's how the system was set up. It wasn't made for Israelites to prosper, but to keep them in perpetual slavery, to keep them oppressed. All right. It says over 1 in 5 U.S. prisoners are locked up for drug offenses. Now, speaking on the war on drugs, those drugs are brought in the country by the government, by the rulers. It was all planned. For to attack or target the Israelites. Get them hooked on drugs, and also uh, get them arrested for using or selling drugs. You know. which even that war, so-called war on drugs, the drugs, being put in those neighborhoods, those so-called communities, that created a conflict um, between Israelites, fighting over corners, things of that nature, and that increased the murder rate. So it was all set up by Esau Edom, the so-called white man. Okay. Now I just want to look Core Civic GO Group, just out of curiosity, and then we're gonna bring out some more information. GO Group, the GO Group, globally in evidence-based rehabilitation. Okay, so those are, yeah. The GO Group Inc. is a publicly traded C corporation headquartered in Boca Raton, Florida, that invests in private prisons and mental health facilities in the United States, Australia, South Africa, and the United Kingdom. George Zoli. That's another criminal. Core Civic. Let's see. Well, reading on the GEO Group, the company's facilities include immigration detention centers, minimum security detention centers, and mental health and residential treatment facilities. It says as of September 20, September 30, 2024, the company owned or managed 80,000 beds at 99 facilities, making it the largest prison operator in the United States. Okay, so this is a big uh, private prison company. Yeah, so there's another one called what was it called? Core Civic. Okay, it says Core Civic, formerly the Corrections Corporation of America, is a company that owns and manages private prisons and detention centers and operates others on a concession basis. Core Civic Inc. It says as of 2024, the company is the second largest private corrections company in the United States and the nation's largest owner of partnership correctional detention and residential reentry facilities. And like we read, it was a private companies, private prison companies are it's a lucrative business. It says 11. We read that it brought up about a $11 billion per year industry. It says, as of 2017, CoreCivic shares are mainly held by institutional holdings, the Vanguard Group, BlackRock, okay, which we hear about BlackRock a lot. Okay, one of the major investment company. Okay. So yeah, they invest in those prison companies as well. Vanguard, Fidelity Investments. Which they're all in bed together, all these companies, man. Okay. A lot of information. All right, so let's go back to what AI said. Okay. It says that so-called Black Americans are incarcerated at 5 times the rate of whites, despite similar crime rates. Right. So that's because once again, this is our captivity, man. Okay, America is a prison. Okay, it's just a big prison. Okay. Um, the book of Micah, chapter 2 and verse 10, it says, "Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted; it shall destroy you, even with the sword destruction." Okay, now, this is not the place of our rest, but this is a place of captivity. America is a is a place of captivity, man. It's a slave. This is a slave colony. Okay, you know, where the Israelites were brought up. Okay, to serve under their enemies. Deuteronomy 28 and verse 68 says here, "And the Lord Yahweh Bashmi Oshai shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships." All right, how did we get into Egypt with ships? It was during the time of slavery, man. Okay, during the transatlantic slave trade. Okay, and Egypt here is referring to America. Revelation 11 and 8, it says that that great city, which is Babylon, is spiritually called Sodom in Egypt. All right, and once again, we only got to Egypt, the spiritual Egypt. Okay, America, by ships. Okay, like it says here, "And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. By the way, wherever I speak unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. There you shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you," meaning no man is going to deliver you. Okay, and only Yahweh Shai is going to deliver us, but he's not going to meet our enemies as a man. He's not going to come and deliver us as a form of a man. He's going to come in an angelic force. Okay, as a power. Okay, as a as his his initial form as a god. Okay, he's going to deliver the elect of the nation of Israel. Captive. This is Isaiah 51 and 14. "The captive exile hasteneth that he may be loosed." Right? That's the Israelite. Okay, and that he should not die in the pit, nor that his bread should fail. Okay. All right. So yes, we are in slavery. Okay. And though we're not in chains anymore, this is a new form of slavery. Okay, that we're in. Okay. But nonetheless, the Israelites have always been, um, the main target to keep enslaved. Okay, all right. So let's read this information here. It says after the above. So I wrote so-called black people were put back in prison after slavery. I says after the abolition of slavery in the United States, black people were systematically criminalized and re-enslaved through oppressive laws, racial terror, and economic exploitation. Right, which proves that this is not arrest. Okay, it was systematic. Okay, meaning it was planned. Okay, it was carefully thought out. Okay, to have so-called black people, Israelites, let's just say Israelites, okay, re-enslaved through oppressive laws, racial terror, and economic exploitation. Here's how it happened. The Black Codes from 1865 to 1866. After the Civil War, Southern states passed Black Codes, laws designed to restrict black people's freedom and force them into labor. Okay, vagrancy laws allowed authorities to arrest so-called black people for minor offenses like loitering and not having a job, then lease them out to plantations, mines, and railroads. Okay, all right. So you know the scriptures talk about them exchanging gifts one to another. Well, that's these Israelites being sold as slaves, right? Being being leased. It says vagrancy laws allow authorities to arrest black people for minor offenses like loitering or not having a job, then lease them out to plantations, mines, and railroads. Convict leasing, late 1800s to early 1900s, says southern states leased prisoners, mostly so-called black men, to private companies as forced labor. Okay. Conditions were brutal. Many died from overwork, disease, or violence. This system effectively replaced slavery with a new form of exploitation. Okay. All right. So it's a form of replacing slavery. So ultimately, the so-called the Israelites were never put out of slavery. They were they just served a new type of slavery, you could say, but it's still slavery. Okay. Um, it's just a new form of exploitation, like it says. Okay. Um, the Jim Crow laws, number three, 1877 to 1960s. After Reconstruction ended in 1875, Southern states enforced racial segregation and voter suppression. Black people face harsh penalties for minor offenses, ensuring a steady supply of prison labor. Now, what is Reconstruction? The Reconstruction era. So the Reconstruction era was a period of the United States and Southern United States history that followed the American Civil War and was dominated by the legal, social, and political challenges of the abolition of slavery and the reintegration of the 11 former Confederate states into the United States. It says during this period, three amendments were added to the United States Constitution to grant citizenship and equal civil rights to the newly freed slaves. To circumvent these legal achievements, the former Confederate states imposed poll taxes and literacy tests and engaged in terrorism to intimidate and control black people and to discourage or prevent them from voting. So let's go back. Peonage, number 4, peonage. Many so-called black sharecroppers were trapped in debt peonage, where they owed money to landowners and were arrested if they tried to leave. Courts will convict them of fraudulent contracts and send them to labor camps. Peonage means peonage, also known as debt servitude or debt slavery, is a system where an employer compels a worker to pay off a debt with labor, effectively creating a form of involuntary servitude. Okay. Well, it says that the borrower is servant to the lender. The rich ruleth over the poor. Mass incarceration, 1970s to present. After the civil rights movement, policies like the war on drugs led to mass incarceration disproportionately targeting so-called black communities. Okay, so once again, this is systematic. This is planned for so that the Israelites would be kept in slavery. Okay. It says prison labor remains a multi-billion-dollar industry with inmates paid pennies per hour. This is the book of Jeremiah 50 and 33. It says, thus saith the Lord of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah will press together, where in America. And all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go. Okay. All right. So they refused to let them go. Okay. This is Ezekiel 35 and 10. Because thou hast said, these two nations and these two countries shall be mine. Right? Which nation? Speaking of the northern and the southern kingdom. Okay. All right. They thought that we belong to them. Okay. It says we will possess it, whereas the Lord was there. This is Jeremiah 50 and verse 7. All that found them have devoured them. Okay. All that found them have devoured them. These nations, man. They've devoured who? The Israelites. And their adversaries say, we offend not, because they have sinned against the Lord, the habitation of justice, even the Lord, the hope of their fathers. All right. So they took advantage of our downfall. Okay. All right. All right. So, they profited off of so-called black people, being put in prison, man. Okay. So reading on, it says, continuity from slavery to prison. The 13th Amendment abolished slavery except as punishment for a crime, creating a loophole for prison labor. You see, the 13th Amendment of 1865 abolished slavery except as punishment for a crime, creating a loophole for prison labor. Today, the U.S. has the highest incarceration rate in the world, with so-called black people in prison at 5 times the rate of so-called white people. Once again, all right, who's being targeted here? The Israelites. This is all systematic, okay, to keep you Israelites in the lower state, to keep you in prison, and that creates a cycle. They don't rehabilitate you in prison. No, you learn how to be a better criminal, okay, because you're surrounded by criminals. Chances are when you're released, you're just gonna create more crime, because once again, the system is not built to help the Israelite man, but to tear him down, okay. This is a book of Psalms, chapter 82 and verse, Psalm 62. Psalm 62 and verse 4 says here, they only consult to cast him down from his excellency. They delight in lies. They bless with their mouth, but they curse inwardly. Okay, they only consult to cast the Israelite man from his excellency. Okay, from his legitimate state. As a son of God. Okay, as a noble. All right. Right. So once again, man. It's like, once again, America is the land of where we were put into slavery, man. And to this day, we are still in slavery. All right, the Israelites in America are still in slavery. All right. So yeah, I just wanted to bring out this information. Okay. Pursuant to the book of Isaiah 14 and 17. This is she opened not the house of his prisoners, which the most targeted man to be imprisoned is the Israelite man. It says that the so-called black man is 5 times more likely to be imprisoned than a white person, so-called white person. Okay, which proves again that this is not a rest, but that Yahushua, and that Yahushua is going to come and deliver us. So let's finish up in Jeremiah 50. And verse 34, the Redeemer is strong, the Lord of hosts is his name. He shall thoroughly plead their cause. The cause of who? The elect, that he may give rest to the land and disquiet the inhabitants of Babylon. All right, so, let's end off by giving all praises, honor, and glorification to our power, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem HaKadosh, that belongs to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom to the elect. Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh